Prior to the erection of the Binga State Bank, the Chicago Defender moved into the neighborhood, bringing more jobs and adding to the economic prosperity of the area. In 1920, Robert Abbott, founder of the Defender, took over a Jewish synagogue located at 3435 South Indiana, where he published the newspaper for 40 years. The Defender got its start on the 5th of May in 1905 when Abbott printed the first issue of his paper. He worked out of a kitchen in his landlord's apartment, and with an initial investment of 25 cents and a press run of 300 copies, the first issues of the Defender were in 4-page, 6-column handbills and filled with local news and clippings from other newspapers. As a northern paper, the Defender had more freedom to denounce issues outright, and its editorial position was very militant, attacking racial inequities head-on. Sensationalistic headlines, graphic images, and red ink were used to capture the reader's attention and convey the horrors of lynching, rape, assault, and other atrocities affecting Black Americans. The Defender's local circulation soon surpassed that of 3 rival papers that existed in the Chicago area at the time: the Broad Axe, the Illinois Idea, and the Conservator. The Conservator was the first Black newspaper in Chicago, and that newspaper was started by Ida B. Wells' husband, Ferdinand Barnett. The newspaper was read extensively in the South. Black Pullman porters and entertainers were used to distribute the paper across the Mason-Dixon line. And the paper was smuggled into the South because white distributors refused to circulate the Defenders, and many groups such as the Ku Klux Klan tried to confiscate it or threaten the readers. The Defender was passed from person to person and read aloud in barbershops and churches. It's estimated that at its height, each paper sold was read by 4 to 5 African Americans, putting its readership at over 500,000 people each week. During World War I, the Chicago Defender waged its most aggressive and successful campaign in support of the Great Migration. This movement resulted in over 1.5 million Southern Blacks migrating to the North from 1915 to 1925. The Defender spoke of the hazards of remaining in the overly segregated South and lauded life in the North. Job listings and train schedules were posted to facilitate the relocation. And the Defender also used editorials, cartoons, and articles with blazing headlines to attract attention to the movement, and even went so far as to declare May 15, 1917, as the date of the Great Northern Drive. The Defender's support of the movement caused Southern readers to migrate to the North in record numbers, and at least 110,000 came to Chicago alone from 1916 to 1918, nearly tripling the city's Black population. I just want to go back to this slide for 1 second, and the reason why I have the Chicago Urban League building and the Young Men's Christian Association here in these slides is because these 2 institutions were very instrumental in helping those Blacks that had migrated to Chicago, in particular in the Bronzeville area, along with other organizations, churches, and fraternal organizations as well. During the Great Migration, Jesse Binga was still active in the real estate market. With the population growing in the Black metropolis, housing, jobs, and other services were even more important. And in order to take advantage of this opportunity, Binga located his real estate office at 4742 South State Street. The street became known as the Binga Block after he purchased all the property on State between 47th and 48th. There were 21 stores and 54 flats located, and this helped extend the Black Belt even further south. Meeting the standards to obtain a state charter in 1921, Jesse Binga opened his second bank, the Binga State Bank. The new home for the bank was erected in 1924, and the bank is actually the smaller building on the right side with the 2 columns. To address the growing needs of the community, the Binga Arcade building was erected right next door to the Binga State Bank, in 1929. Its address was 3458 South State Street. It incorporated 2 floors of shops, 2 floors of offices, and a large 5th floor assembly hall. Binga took great pride in the 35th and State Business District, the growth of which he had watched from its inception at the turn of the century. He was outspoken regarding the attempts to undermine it by the largely white-owned property owners along 47th Street, stating in a 1928 Chicago Defender interview that most people don't realize it, he says, but practically all our business institutions and our most substantial investments are located on or near 35th Street. Not less than $3 million is invested by our people in commercial property in the area 5 blocks north and 5 blocks south of 35th Street between State and Cottage Grove. There's the Defender Plant, Liberty Life Insurance, the YMCA, Pythian Temple, our largest undertaking establishments, the Overton interests, our most important hospitals, clubs, and the bulk of our residential real estate investments.